Hello everyone, and welcome to Skills to Pay the Bills. This is the Ernestine J Wilson Real Estate's version of Let's Talk Insurance today. My guest today is Mr. Rich Tusing. He is a State Farm insurance agent, and he is my own personal consultant when it comes to insurance. Welcome.
Thank you, James.
Okay, let's get right to it.
All right.
I know a lot about insurance now because you and Ernestine told me a lot of things that I had questions about. So I'm going to ask you some of the questions that I asked Ernestine, who in turn told me, talk to Rich, he'll tell you exactly what it's all about. So now you're here today and you can tell us what insurance is really all about. Now, I'm a homeowner, I own a car, I own investment property. What is your role?
My role is to basically help educate you on the different options you have to properly insure your home, your auto, explain some of the discounts that are available for the combination of insuring auto and home with State Farm.
I remember long before discount double checks, Ernestine told me one time, she says, I think we need to call Rich and ask him about this, or we need to ask him. I said, why? We pay. She says, things change, you know. We may be entitled to deductions or lower rates, or we may have to increase the amounts that we're paying because things happen where we need more coverage. And so can you explain why that's important?
Well, individuals' needs are always changing, as you know. You may purchase or do an add-on to your house, purchase more property, add in square footage to your house. You may need to increase coverage. It's always good to review coverage with the changing needs and times of today.
I remember you calling one time and telling Ernestine we needed to take another look at where we are so we could get more protection, because the more you accumulate, the more protection you need, because values change every day. So give me an example of someone, say, who has a condominium but decides to hold on to the condominium, rent it out, and then buy a bigger house.
A couple things occur. You increase your liability exposure because now you have a tenant. So liability is a very important aspect of coverage. So looking at a personal liability umbrella for you as being a landlord at that point. And also making sure your new home is properly insured and covered is key to what we do.
When you say properly insured, as it relates to the market value, things like that, or another term would be replacement value, more specifically?
Replacement value is the key step to making sure you're properly insured. You have to, like you were saying with the market value, land value, when we insure a home, we primarily want to insure the structure. So within your purchase price, you got to consider the land value, the market value, good or bad, that comes into play. But when we look at it, hey, if this home was destroyed by fire, for example, what would it cost us to replace that home brand new for our customer?
Speaking of a fire, we had a fire, which I spoke to the audience about a few months ago. The fire occurred a few months ago, and of course we were worried about whether or not we could rebuild. Fortunately, no one was hurt. All those issues are liability issues, but we had adequate coverage because you told us several years ago you need to increase your coverage, because of the fact that if something happens, how can you replace it? And sometimes people do get stuck. Have you had that instance before where people did not do as they should have done and were left holding?
I have not, because I personally will not write business if someone wants to take less coverage than what we find at replacement value. That leaves me, out there on a hook, because my job is to properly insure that property. So if they have a number in mind, I stick with what we come up with, because that's my job, is to properly insure the home regardless of what they come up with.
I know that protection seems like a simple word. For someone who doesn't really think that much about protection, explain what protection is and what it means to have adequate protection.
Adequate protection would be to, properly insure your home for replacement, making sure the replacement value is within range of what it would cost to replace your house. Make sure the personal property coverage on the policy is adequate for the belongings within the house. Some of the other coverages that come along with a policy that may not be automatic. You may have to physically add what we call an endorsement to a policy to give coverages in areas that don't come automatically with an insurance policy.
An example of an endorsement for something that doesn't come along.
Primarily one would be like backup of sewers and drains. That's limited to no coverage on your basic homeowner's policy. Today's world in our area, it's kind of interesting, but an earthquake endorsement. Earthquake coverage does not come on your homeowners automatically. Earth movement is not a covered peril. So adding an earthquake endorsement to your home may be something to consider, being that we've had a few tremors here lately.
Well, I can tell you one thing, derecho is a word I had not heard since maybe the 5th or 6th grade geography and things like that. And then we had one last year, and I saw a few trees fall in the yard, and much to my, as they say, chagrin, I had to go and find someone to cut those trees because they were so far away from the house. And I always thought that, well, if a tree falls in your yard, you pick up the phone, you call Rich, take care of it. But then I found out, no, that was not covered. And it wasn't something that you should have, made available to me, but it was just one of those quirky things that happened. A derecho, leveling trees in the yard, not touching the house, not touching my neighbor's yard, but just falling into the yard. So that would be something that I might want to ask you about later on. How do I cover myself against another derecho? But, aside from that, the things that you talked about, the sewage and things like that, do make sense. I've always wanted to know, why do you charge me a certain deductible and why am I dealing with one deductible and somebody, you talk to someone, well, I only pay $500. Why are the deductibles so different?
Deductibles are choice of the customer. So you can choose what deductible you want on your policy. Some folks elect higher deductibles, being maybe in the profession of construction. They feel, hey, if I have a claim, I can handle $2,000 or $3,000 of damage myself. Some folks don't have the means to have $2,000 or $3,000 to pay up front to get coverage or to cover themselves, if you will. We call that self-insuring for a little bit of the claim. So truly the deductible amount is chosen by the customer, what meets their comfort zone of paying out of pocket for the claim.
Okay, I come into your office, I'm new to the area, I don't know anything about insurance rates for cars, what the normal rate is for homes in the neighborhood that I live in or the home that I'm going to buy, things like that. You sit me down, what do you do? How do you walk me through the process of deciding what is best for me?
Well, homes and auto are slightly different. For a homeowners, if you were just purchasing a home, we would go through a few steps to create the replacement value, whether it be get some information off an appraisal from your lender, or building your home in our system, and it creates a replacement value for us. Then that would be our insurance amount, and then we would go down the policy features, tailoring it to the need of the customer.
When I was 18 and I bought my first car, they told me that, because you're a young male, we have to charge you a lot more than everybody else. But the rate will go down when you're 26. Rate didn't go down. So when I turned 26, I thought, okay, no problem. I can get my father's rates because he has excellent rates. I'm paying maybe 3 times more than he. Rate didn't go down. Why? No tickets.
I wasn't your agent when you were 18, okay. James, so I'm not exactly sure how to answer that question. Typically, as you get older and you maintain a good driving record, your rates should trend down. There's a lot of new things technology-wise that insurance companies are using to help young drivers have a more affordable rate as long as they stay a good driver, a good student discount.
For example?
Yeah, for example, a good student discount. We have a steer clear discount for youthful drivers that they can maintain a discounted rate until one of two things happen. Either they have a ticket or an accident, or they turn age 25 when the rate should drop due to their age.
I remember years ago when I was in school, they said, well, if you get all A's, you know, there's a good chance you get a better rate.
Absolutely.
Well, I didn't get all A's, but I figured I've got a combination of A's and B's. What do I get? No, we think that the students who do very well in school tend to be better drivers for the most part. Is that still?
They don't go necessarily by grade. They go by grade point average.
Mm-hmm.
So 3.0 or better, you fall
that's
under
what I mean.
the good student discount. So if you maintain a 3.0, you would receive a discounted rate through State Farm.
Now, suppose I'm a pre-med student and I'm not getting the 3.5 average because biology and all the other subjects are just really kicking me. But potentially, I know I'm going to med school. You still only look at the grade point average. I'm just covering the bases of those kids who are looking for an excuse.
Right, you are correct. It's 3.0 across the board, no variance.
Okay.
No matter what you're going to, your major is.
Okay. Well, I always thought that guys got the short end of the stick when it came, younger guys, to automobile insurance compared to the girls, whereas some of the girls who I rode with drove worse than some of the guys. I don't mean just, I'm talking about speeding and, just whatever. Why did the girls get a lower rate?
That's a good question. I'm assuming Estimatics has some data that tells that young females have less accidents than young males. I'm not really sure of their what they have to put the extra cost on the young males, other than the loss history of each group.
Yeah, facts and figures. Imagine telling my 21-year-old, this is the reason why, and this is the reason why not, and he's like, okay, I've heard that before. Enough with the excuses. But we'll have more to talk about that after we take a nice little break. So stay right there. We're not going anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, I have a very special announcement from Skills to Pay the Bills. Join Second Baptist Church Ladies Auxiliary of Falls Church, Virginia, as they host their annual Baskets of Blessings charity auction located at 6626 Costner Drive in Falls Church, Virginia, on Saturday, May 18th, 2013 at 1 p.m. Come out and enjoy a light lunch as you bid on the basket of your choice, featuring donated baskets from such sponsors such as Godiva Chocolates, Mary Kay, Avon, Bed Bath & Beyond, Gourmet Baked Goods, and much, much more. Funds raised help to provide quality programs and assistance to families in the Northern Virginia area. For more information, call 703-533-3217, and don't forget to watch Skills to Pay the Bills.
Well, welcome back to Skills to Pay the Bills. I'm James Jack, your host. I'm a real estate agent with Ernestine J. Wilson Real Estate, and my guest today is my insurance agent, State Farm representative, Rich Tusing. And of course, we've been talking about homeowners insurance and automobile insurance and things like that. And for a long time, I was a State Farm client, I guess you could say. My father was too. And I remember years ago them talking about, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. But I noticed a transition here lately, especially with some of the commercials with Chris Paul and his so-called twin brother. I really enjoyed that. Now, that was a good one. And you're using the theme of assist, as in basketball. Now they're giving credit to the basketball player who gives the assist to the guy who scores the 2 points, or the young lady who scores, the 3-pointer, or whatever the case may be. And so, what I want to know is, and I'm sure the audience does too, when someone comes in and you talk about coverages, how does that assist play? How do you assist them?
Assisting a client is, comes in many different fashions. Mainly is to educate them on coverage. A lot of folks try to sell, on price. But coverage is very important as far as, car insurance, home insurance, being covered with your, for life insurance. So assisting them is really educating them on what coverages do for them in that time of need.
Coverage equates to protection,
Correct.
and protection equates to security.
Exactly, and maintaining your lifestyle the way you want.
I'll tell you one thing, on the morning of the fire, the first thing I thought about was, oh my God, I hope no one was hurt. But driving over, it occurred to me, do we have enough insurance? Because here, I hadn't seen the building until we got there. And when I saw it, I said, oh, am I going to go, into the tank because of this? But we had adequate insurance, and I felt better, so that gave me peace of mind, and I felt protected. So coverage does equate to protection. And so is that what the customer comes in to you and says, I want to be able to rest at night?
Primarily, they come in saying, "What can I get for the cheapest price?" and that's a challenge for us.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah, exactly. And we always take the approach of education because the bottom line is not necessarily the bottom line. And the time you want to find out that you have adequate coverage or not adequate coverage would be at the time of claim, like in your instance. Makes me feel good to know we've done a good job with your situation. And we always want to make sure that we're educating folks on how to properly insure themselves and their family.
Well, I will admit, from the people who I first called to start the claim, put it in motion, to the claims adjuster who is still working with me now, very good, very professional, very considerate, that helps. No arguments, no fights, no bickering. The people in your office, we can call them at any time, and they'll answer questions and things like that. If necessary, you'll get back to us and tell us exactly where we are in the process. And because the claims adjuster is doing such a good job, you haven't had to you haven't had to run interference at all. So that's a good thing. And that makes us feel very good too, because in a way, it's the same thing that we do as real estate agents. We are there when people want to buy a house. We are there when there's a problem. We're there to tell them about other people who can come and fix their homes, or we're there to remind them, you should take a look at your taxes, your property taxes. You may be due a rebate or a lower assessment, or whatever the case may be. And so that really goes hand in hand with that personal touch, like a good neighbor. And so I want to say thank you for what you've done there. Also, when we came in, you didn't sit down and have a laundry list of coverages that we needed. You didn't say, well, you need homeowners insurance, you need automobile insurance, you need life insurance, but State Farm offers that, as most insurance, the majors do. So when do you start thinking in terms of, well, let's take a look at your life insurance, or you let the customer come to you? How does that work?
We send out information periodically, in the mail. Do calls for reviews. We call it an insurance and financial review with policyholders to make sure they're being educated. Again, I keep using that word, but that's very important to us. Of what they really we have to offer to them in that time of need. And in some cases, folks don't think. They think, oh, I have life insurance, for example, at work. That's adequate. Well, they may be grossly underinsured to properly protect their family. So having an IFR, we uncover the need. So our main focus is to tailor the insurance products to the customer's needs.
Yes, and I remember you telling us about, as small business persons, independent, of working for a corporation, we needed to think in terms of the umbrella and making sure that everything was covered, because our exposure to liability was probably greater standing out there on our own, as opposed to working for a company for 35, 40 years and not having to worry about someone slipping and falling on the property. And as a result, we thought that was a good idea, because we had never thought about that. Being busy people, we never thought about how much more, or should it be under an umbrella, or because of the values of the property, and also income and things like that, we're more vulnerable than say someone who really just doesn't have a lot to insure. So that was a good thing that happened for us, and I think that for most people, this is a good time for them to step, up to the plate, as it were, and take another look at your insurance coverage, because things have changed over the past 5 or 6 years. Valuations, you just don't know what you may encounter if you have a catastrophic loss coming your way through floods and things like that, as we witnessed in New Jersey, New York, when the flooding came through, the hurricanes, or the earthquake that actually shook a lot of people's houses. So I think that's a good thing. Now, what is a claim?
A claim is when a loss occurs. For example, your fire. Claims can come in many different ways, whether it be a car accident, someone passes with life insurance, a fire on their home. So a claim is when you actually use and need to use the coverages of your policy.
They don't need to call you, they can call?
They can call State Farm Direct. They can go online and file a claim. We have many touch points for getting that process started.
I've heard people say that their insurance company disappeared when there was time for a claim. In other words, they had discount insurance, and when it was time to file a claim, they were no longer there, and they had to really, really fight for some attention from someone. Or when they called an 800 number to start the process of getting their insurance, there wasn't a person there that they could talk to and say, look, my house is flooded, I need to stay in a hotel tonight. Instead, they were just routed through a series of telephone exchanges that left them out in the cold for the most part. So State Farm has done a very good job of keeping the person in the business and reaching out to those people. So I filed a claim when the house was burned, and a team of people started working with me. And no matter where I called, each person was able to look at the screen and know exactly what the status was. You have a small team in your office. Tell me about them.
I have a diverse team of 6 people at the current time.
Diverse in the sense of?
I have bilingual, Spanish speaking, Korean speaking. And we have a technology in State Farm as a whole is we always have our finger on the pulse. We know what's going on. We can pull your data up on the screen and know who your claim handler is, direct you to that person, know where we are in the process. And that's one of the benefits of having a local agent to work on your behalf and with you as a liaison with the company through claims as well, so that you have a voice that you can go and sit in front of and share your concerns with them, and they can again educate you on the process and make sure that things are being handled in a professional and timely manner.
Okay, so now you're there working with the people who need insurance coverage and things like that. What else do you do? Do you have time to be Rich Tusing, say, community involvement person, or what else do you do? What makes you a person?
A person. That's a good question. We recently, I do a lot in the community. I recently just sent pine trees to all the 4th graders in 3 different schools for Earth Day. So that was, we give back and educate the community on things like that.
Wait a minute, you just can't just run through this. What was giving pine trees?
Well, it was Earth Day, is all about, Mother Earth. So I got with a firm who sends pine trees wrapped, rooted, they're rooted, and I mail them to 4th graders for planting out in their yard or in the woods or wherever they elect to plant them. And it was so much reward that all the 4th graders in an elementary school in my neighborhood sent me letters. So I have 300 and some letters from 4th graders, and just to see what they wrote and how sweet they are and the things that they were learning during Earth Day, it would made that investment well worth it.
This does harken back to your days in the woods. I remember you telling us you had to go home a couple of times and
Yeah.
you know, smell the fresh air.
Yeah, I'm
do your
definitely
John Denver bit. You know.
That would be me.
Yeah. What else? What else do you do other than plant trees, Johnny Appleseed?
We try to do a lot with the YMCA. I've done some things with Wounded Warriors. You know, we're constantly giving back. You know, I've been blessed in my life, and I like to share that with my community. So, you know, whether it's going to school and speaking, you know, we have, you know, safety seat check day where we can, you know, we had the Greenbelt Police actually come in and invited anyone that drove by, and as well as my clients, to have their child's safety, their child seat checked for safety. If they had a bad child seat, the Greenbelt Police actually gave them a brand new car seat. So it was, again,
That's great.
helping educate parents on how to properly install their child's car seat.
Like a good neighbor,
We're always there.
Rich Tusing is there too, along with the Greenbelt Police, and of course, a shout out to our wounded veterans and to all veterans. If you see someone who you know has served this country, thank them. Just say thank you for what you've done. And I want to thank you, Rich, for coming.
Thanks for
and being
inviting
my
me,
guest
James.
today. State Farm agent Rich Tusing. I'm James Jack, and this has been a really nice conversation we've had, inviting you to come back again here to Skills to Pay the Bills, and of course, always to watch me talk about Ernestine J. Wilson real estate and the people we meet every day. And as always, do the things that you like to do because that's what you like to do. Bye.